You are sitting in a sterile room. A doctor moves a wand across a screen, smiles, and says two words that instantly change your life. It's twins. Today, those words mean matching outfits, double strollers, and a barrage of congratulations on Instagram. It is a biological jackpot. But take that exact same biological event, strip away the hospital, the formula, the safety of the modern world, and place it 50,000 years ago in the corner of a damp cave. The fire is dying down. The tribe is listening. A mother has just endured the most dangerous process in the prehistoric world, childbirth, and she has survived. But then, something impossible happens. A second baby arrives. And in that moment, the tribe doesn't celebrate. They freeze in absolute terror. Because for 99% of human history, the birth of twins wasn't a miracle. It was a glitch in reality. It was a biological disaster, and it was an immediate, terrifying death sentence. To understand why ancient humans reacted to twins with sheer horror, you have to understand the brutal mathematics of prehistoric survival. Today, human babies are essentially helpless for years, but we have cribs, daycares, and grocery stores. 50,000 years ago, a baby was a massive biological liability. A chimpanzee infant can physically cling to its mother's fur just days after being born. The mother has her hands free to forage, climb, and run. Human babies cannot do this. We lost our fur, and our babies are born neurologically underdeveloped because our brains are so large they have to exit the birth canal early. For the first 2 years of its life, a human infant has to be carried, literally carried in the arms or strapped to the body of its mother. Now, do the math. A nomadic hunter-gatherer woman is walking roughly 5 to 10 miles a day. She is foraging for tubers, gathering nuts, and constantly moving to keep up with the shifting seasons and the migrating herds. She only has 2 arms. If she is carrying one child, she can barely gather enough food to sustain her own caloric needs to produce milk. If a predator attacks, she can grab one child and run. If she has 2 babies, she has no hands left. She cannot dig, she cannot forage, she cannot run. From a purely evolutionary standpoint, carrying twins in a nomadic Paleolithic environment is a mathematical impossibility. If a mother tried to keep both, the caloric drain of producing milk for 2 on a prehistoric diet would starve her, and if she starved, all 3 of them died. Nature doesn't care about fairness, it cares about survival, and ancient humans knew exactly what they had to do when the math didn't work. This isn't just a dark theory, it is an uncomfortable, documented reality of human history. Anthropologists studying isolated hunter-gatherer tribes in the 20th century, groups whose lifestyles closely mirrored our ancient ancestors, found that infanticide was an entirely normalized, necessary part of survival. When researchers spent time with the Kung San people of the Kalahari Desert or isolated tribes deep in the Amazon basin, they documented a chillingly pragmatic approach to multiple births. When twins were born, the tribe knew they could not afford them. The mother, often weeping, or the tribal elders would immediately make a choice. One baby was kept, the other was left in the bush to be taken by predators or suffocated or buried alive immediately after birth. They didn't do this out of cruelty, they did this out of profound, devastating mercy. To them, trying to raise both was the actual crime because it guaranteed the death of the entire family. They usually chose to keep the firstborn or the larger of the 2, ensuring the strongest had a chance to survive. The second baby was considered something that simply wasn't meant to be. But logistics and calories are half the story, because ancient humans didn't think in terms of mathematics, they thought in terms of spirits, magic, and the supernatural. Imagine having no concept of genetics, no understanding of cell division or biology. You believe that every human being has one soul placed there by the gods or the ancestors. One soul equals one body. So what happens when a woman pushes out 2 identical bodies? How does a primitive brain process seeing the exact same face twice? It looks like a supernatural glitch. It looks like dark magic. Across hundreds of ancient cultures spanning multiple continents, the birth of twins sparked intense psychological terror. The prevailing belief was that a woman was only capable of creating one child. Therefore, the second child could not possibly be human. It was a demon. It was a shape-shifting animal. It was an evil spirit that had slipped into the womb during the night to steal the life of the real child. In some ancient societies, the superstition went even darker. Because a woman was only supposed to carry one man's child, the birth of twins was seen as physical proof of infidelity, not just with another man, but with a phantom. Many tribes believed that for twins to exist, the mother must have been visited by an evil spirit in her sleep. This made the mother herself entirely taboo. In parts of ancient Australia, ancient South America, and pre-colonial Africa, a woman who gave birth to twins was often banished from the tribe entirely. She was seen as cursed, infected by the spirit world. In some extreme cases, not only were both twins killed to cleanse the village, but the mother was killed alongside them. The fear was so deep, primal, that it generated incredibly complex rituals to deal with the anomaly. You couldn't just abandon a twin, you had to trick the spirit. Some ancient cultures would perform elaborate funerals for the sacrificed twin, apologizing to the gods and begging the spirit not to return and haunt the surviving child. Because they looked identical, tribes lived in constant fear that they had kept the demon and killed the human. Every time the surviving child cried, every time it got sick, they wondered if the evil spirit was the one left sitting by their fire. This brutal reality existed for hundreds of thousands of years. For the vast majority of our species' existence, being a twin was the most dangerous thing a human could be. It was a near guaranteed death sentence before you took your first breath. So what changed? How did twins go from being feared as demons to being dressed in matching outfits in modern preschools? The answer is the exact same thing that changed everything else in human history: the agricultural revolution. Around 10,000 years ago, humans stopped walking. We planted seeds, domesticated animals, and built permanent settlements. And the moment we stopped moving, the brutal mathematics of twins changed overnight. You no longer had to carry a baby 10 miles a day. You could put one down in a woven basket while you fed the other. You had animal milk to supplement breast milk, meaning the mother wouldn't starve to death trying to keep both alive. For the first time in the history of the human species, it was physically possible for a mother to keep two babies and survive. And as the biology changed, the mythology changed with it. Once twins started surviving, cultures had to figure out what to do with them. If they weren't demons, what were they? Because they were so rare and because they still looked like a glitch in reality, societies flipped the script. They went from being feared as curses to being worshipped as gods. The greatest example of this in human history comes from the Yoruba people of West Africa, specifically in modern-day Nigeria. By a bizarre genetic quirk, this region has the highest rate of identical and fraternal twins on the entire planet. Historically, they reacted just like ancient humans did. They feared them. Twins were killed at birth. But as their society grew more complex and agriculturally stable, a massive cultural shift occurred. They realized they were destroying their own children, so they created a new mythology. They decided that twins weren't demons, they were dual spirits, a single soul split into two bodies, carrying immense spiritual power. Today, the Yoruba worship twins. They call them the Ibeji. If a twin dies, it is considered a massive spiritual tragedy, and the parents will commission a wooden carving, an Ibeji figure, to house the soul of the departed twin. They feed the carving, clothe the carving, and carry it with them, believing that the twin spirit is still linked to the living one. They took the deepest, darkest fear of ancient humanity and turned it into profound reverence. The Romans did it too. Romulus and Remus, the mythical founders of the greatest empire in the ancient world, were twins. The ancient Greeks worshipped Apollo and Artemis, twin deities. Across the globe, once the caloric burden of twins disappeared, humanity projected divine power onto them. They became symbols of balance, light and dark, sun and moon, creation and destruction. We look at ancient humans abandoning babies in the dark and we call them monsters. We think we are morally superior because we celebrate multiple births, but the uncomfortable truth is that we aren't any better than the people sitting in that cave 50,000 years ago. We just have more food. We have walls. We have agriculture. Our morals didn't evolve. Our technology did. The mother weeping in the Kalahari brush as she left her second child behind loved her babies just as much as a modern mother in a hospital does. She just lived in a world that did not allow her to keep them. Every time you see twins walking down the street today, you are looking at a living miracle. Not just biologically, but historically. You are looking at a genetic anomaly that for 30,000 years was treated as a monster, a curse, and a biological impossibility. Those two identical faces are a reminder of exactly how brutal the ancient world was and exactly how lucky we are to live in a time where a glitch in nature is just a reason to buy a second crib.